Is up DTube? What is up Steam blockchain? So today I want to talk a little bit about, so I checked out Samsung unveiled yesterday, or was it the day before maybe. They basically unveiled their brand new Galaxy Note 10, which is a phone that is following the trend of many other phones now, where they're basically moving to triple cameras on the rear side, and I think many of them even have a dual camera on the front. Maybe some phone even has triple camera on the front as well, so the front facing camera. But you're seeing this trend, and Huawei is also doing it. For example, with the Huawei P30 Pro, it also comes with triple cameras on the rear side. And I think there's even some other Chinese brands that are doing the same thing. And I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, so video has a very bright future, clearly, because, okay, so let's say in 3 years, around 2022, clearly this stuff is going to move down to a consumer level where there's not going to be a single person that doesn't have an HD camera, or a single person that doesn't have like some magical zoom feature on their camera. And at the moment, it really is a question of distribution, or the infrastructure, that most people cannot really afford this, because these phones cost between $1,000 and $1,500. But we look at the price performance, we look at the doubling effect every 2 years. This is the so-called users and sort of the buyers of phones. They are going to start to notice. They're going to notice that they get more and more value. So for a couple of years, I would say between 2015 up to 2019, the consumer using a lot of smartphones and technology, they haven't really they haven't gotten the advantage of the research and development, because it's mainly been, okay, we can produce a little bit faster hardware, we can make a little bit better camera, we can make a little bit faster processor. But for the end consumer, they haven't really, I mean, okay, they can play a game with a little bit higher graphics. Okay, that's cool. Maybe they can load Google 50% faster. Okay, that's cool. And maybe with 5G, maybe, okay, we can download a movie in 15 seconds instead of 10 minutes. And in a way, I see, I mean, yeah, it's a little bit cool, but what is more going to be interesting is when these devices actually can produce something. So, okay, so we have had the run-up of cameras becoming a little bit better, a little bit faster, and that's kind of cool, right? It's kind of cool, okay? Now we have the triple camera, the dual cameras, but it still isn't in many people's hands. Like, how many people does have the fiat to actually dole that out? Sure, you can pay it 24 months or something like that, and many people are doing that. But a lot of people are then they're getting these devices, right? But then they realize, wait a second, the software experience, yeah, I have to sign up on a place to maybe get some fiat. So it's not really at the moment there yet where you have the complete ecosystem, because then you need the great software. And that is the stuff that's being worked on right now. The software, the blockchain, the decentralized communities, all of that, and the tokenization. I mean, that's not really here yet. So you can have the great hardware, but if you don't have the great software, if you don't have the great infrastructure, the user cannot really see the reward. Like, why should I have this device? But they are, according to what I see now, with, okay, so if everyone's gonna have these like triple and dual cameras, if everyone's sort of going to have that in like 2022, because we already have now a quad-core phone for $50, but it's just that the infrastructure laid down where a lot of companies are sort of making a margin of profit by having these expensive hardware devices. But what happens when all these companies realize, wait a sec, we can just make value in other ways by having tokenized systems. And now we have this whole infrastructure where everyone already has the hardware, so it makes more sense to just focus on software and create a great user experience. Okay, so you're sort of seeing that, right? And then you're like, okay, so this is just really a beginning phase of video. Even though video started 2005. But it becomes a totally different thing when literally every single person can make HD content. That's a big reason also now why you're seeing a lot of this stuff that people are making 3-hour podcast videos. Why are people doing that? So there's another layer to this, I would say, that is called faster communication. So, for example, with Joe Rogan and a lot of other podcasts, people are starting to see, okay, if we just make 3 hours, we put in everything there, people can communicate faster to each other. So instead of using Google and having to type some words in and trying to find some information, sort of what people are realizing is, wait a sec, tapping on a record button and getting all the niche information from a niche person out, it just makes a better experience, faster communication. Don't have to go to a bunch of websites. Everything is right at one place. And the key thing really is that it's niche information from one source. One source that has observed something in the real world, maybe for 20 years, and then you just pack all the information in a video. I mean, it makes great. It's great, right? Pack that with voice assistants, so you'll be able to. You don't even have to watch a video like that. You can use voice on, for example, a video. That's an ice cream truck, by the way. If you want to buy some ice cream, go to the ice cream truck. But if you want to so you're going to have all the data. You're going to have all the data already with the voice assistants and with video, because it's just the video recording itself. Always something of interesting, or it basically puts down value to near zero marginal cost, because it's like if you record something on a video and then upload it, someone is going to be interested in that. Sure, you could do this 10 years ago, but the infrastructure itself to reach other humans is kind of harder, right? People are busy doing some other stuff. They maybe didn't have internet. Same as right now. A lot of people do not even have internet right now, or maybe they have a slow connection. Maybe there's probably some gateway trying to sort of slow things down, but sort of trying to, okay, you have to pay per megabyte, and that you slow stuff down. And that's the same thing we have now with hardware, like people trying to slow stuff down. And same thing with software. You have people, different groups have an interest in sort of keeping the status quo, sort of how it's running. But eventually, when you sort of get, let's say, the free market effect or whatever, basically like when you just have everything's just right there, it makes so people can try things. Like faster experimentation. Okay, we're sort of realizing everyone can sort of do videos. If everyone just, I mean, if a person just considers, if like just more people did video on a daily basis, you would probably have more intelligence, because more people would actually make cool stuff, or actually just doing a genuine effort at trying to say what they have seen in the world, right? And every person probably has seen some cool stuff, or they're sitting on some interesting information. And that's the cool part about being human, that if a human is doing videos, they're probably gonna try to squeeze out the most interesting stuff that they are sort of looking at or considering in a video. It's like I heard this thing where someone said, people write books, right? And what is the best thing? Having the book that a person wrote and sort of learn everything from the book, or having the person in their life as guidance. And it's like the book is better because, and this might sound weird, like the book is better than the person. Well, it's mainly because they have squeezed in all the best stuff in a short format. So you get the best of the person. They're trying harder to make the book better. While in real life, they're just a person derping around, doing a lot of nonsense as everyone else is doing. So it's like you're trying to make this thing where everyone has triple or dual cameras, and everyone is using that, for example, on the YouTube. That would be cool. To just communicate faster and to just squeeze out more intelligence, because it's like communicate slowly sucks. It's like if I go, for example, to a bank website and you try to like find a name of someone there, it's like a lot of these companies are doing this thing where they're just removing all of that. So you're just, let's say, communicating with a robot, or you're just communicating with text, but what is it backed by? Like you don't know if it like makes sense. Like humans enjoy getting intelligence, knowing where the source is coming from, so they can they can get more context for something that is being said or whatever. So yeah, that's interesting topics. And this another thing that I was sort of considering was this thing that you would be able to have even AI interview people in videos. So look at this. When everyone is having triple and dual cameras, let's say a person sets up a camera and they sit in a room, then they can have a simulated AI that interviews the person. So you can simulate whatever you want. You can simulate interviews. Because this is like the big thing right now where people are like, oh, I'm going to be interviewed by X person. And people love that. People love watching that. And people love talking about themselves. And if you can have an AI that can interview you, that would be pretty cool, right? Because the AI, it can know how to ask probably engaging questions. It can look at what you did in the past and sort of ask you stuff. Oh, what is the plan for the future? What do you think about this? It can cross-check information, and it can make a very interesting, fun experience. Because then it really becomes about, okay, every person with a triple or dual camera, they can really, really start to experiment. We've just had this on small scale with YouTube. So, for example, some people realized, wait a sec, I can record anything, so I can just make a video how to open a door. And there was a guy that just did that. I think it's a minute-long video, just opens a door, and I think that's 100,000 views. Oh, that's interesting. So you can experiment, and you can get value from that. That is kind of cool. That's kind of cool. So, and then you do have that combined with that everyone is looking what everyone else is doing, and they're sort of starting to learn how you can create something better. That is pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome, by the way. Yeah, that is what I wanted to talk about. A big thing I think is what people are gonna realize is, so some people may argue that, well, not everyone will be able to have these devices because they are expensive, and even Adrian, in 3 years they're gonna be expensive. Like a new device is gonna be very expensive. But my point is this, that you're gonna have so great software. So one device, like if a person actually is using a device, the device will be able to bring in more daily revenue, then the device would be able to pay for new devices. And this is the cool thing with computing power. If we get more computing power, it can compute more. And just because we're tokenizing everything, it means that everyone eventually can sit on the best technology and the best technology, the best hardware, the best software, which means that the device is going to pay for other devices. This is kind of cool. This is kind of epic. This is also why we're always getting a little bit better stuff. For example, for Samsung, they have a high incentive to try to create the best device ever. So they get in all this profit, and then they try to satisfy the consumer by making an even better device next year, right? So that is kind of cool. So I'm very excited how video is going to grow, and how it can become very, very, let's say, natural, that people do it, right? I mean, it already is. It already is. With all services coming out. And it's very cool because in many ways it makes the internet experience more engaging, more fun. Because it's like when you're looking at something in 3D or in video that combines the human, audio, 3D, maybe some environment, it makes it so you actually, in theory, would be able to even do more replacement of used physical interaction, especially when you can plug in yourself to some VR thing. But it seems like VR is gonna slow down a little bit. We had the first, let's say, bull run in VR, maybe 2015, 2016. And then, what happens with every bull run, we get a bear market of technology because it takes a long time to do more research and development. And then when people do research and development, they may realize some things that people invested time and energy into was something that we really did not need. So this is something I think that people are going to realize maybe in a couple of years with Google AdSense. It's like, okay, we can make a few dollars off of something, but then they're going to realize that, wait a sec, it's so much easier to do something else now that brings in $100. So they're going to see that their incentive is to do that instead. Maybe they can do both. Maybe they can earn a couple of more dollars doing both things. But then they realize, nah, it's best to do this other thing, this newer thing, right? Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about. And it's just so funny because I see a lot of these people, video creators, for example, on YouTube, many of them that used real cameras a few years ago, now they can buy, some of them are buying the same smartphone. If they want to do a video, for example, maybe they buy 5 smartphones, the same smartphone, and then use the front-facing camera, turn it on, and get all these different angles of whatever it is they want to record. It just makes a better experience for everyone. That is kind of cool. And it's going to be pushed to a more intense level in a few years, when you're going to be able to have some AI robot that records you in all different angles. And you don't even need a human. You don't even need to hire a camera guy, because the AI can be the camera guy. That's going to open up the market even more, which is very interesting. Like, it's not just a little bit interesting. It's very interesting because it opens up the whole window of people looking at stuff that has seemed to be permanent. So, for example, one thing that seems to be permanent for everyone right now is, okay, you have a home and you have a TV place. And you have a TV there, and there's something that is on that TV, and it's always the same person. Then you realize, wait a sec, humans can sort of create this themselves with the triple and dual cameras. It's like, we don't need this big machine. So you needed to have like big, super massive cameras to do something. But then the price performance, I mean, it's like, well, now everyone can do the same thing, right? So something that used to be exclusive stops being exclusive. It's like everyone can do something right now. Like it's normal, right? And I think that's what's going to happen with videos. It's going to be more normalized. Right now, it's not super normalized, but it's going to become that, just as we saw with photos, where it's just, so maybe 10 years ago, it was like photos looked more exotic or exclusive, and then it's like, wait a sec, everyone is sort of doing this. Everyone is sort of measuring when other people are doing photos, and everyone is sort of trying to make a better experience. And that's just what's gonna, it's actually the same thing is gonna happen with video, where people are always gonna try to do better things, right? Better things. Nature. I don't hear the ice cream truck anymore. That's what I want to talk a little bit about today. I talked a little bit with my friend and was considering a little bit about this concept, even though I didn't dive deeper into it. But the concept of blockchain phones is very interesting, because Sammy Boy, Apple Boy, Huawei Boy, seems as in 3 years, when we have the best camera, the battery, all that, seems as Sammy Boy and all these, that they eventually is going to move into the blockchain space and try to make a blockchain phone. Maybe that's the next thing. Maybe that is the next cool thing. Because, and I also saw this thing about Facebook. Facebook is making some Facebook Studio, I think it's called, where they're going to do Instagram more and more apps. We're just going to automate it. So it's like, now when people post stuff, it probably is already old. But it doesn't really matter that much, because it's like, well, it's just some photos, right? Or it's just some basic videos. So we're seeing how a lot of experiences are just going to be more an auto. And there's not going to be a demand for looking at stuff as we've done in the past, where it's like, well, we're going to try to maximize production. But it doesn't really make any sense anymore, because it's like, okay, maybe I can do 100 videos in a day, and I'm gonna upload it at the same minute. But it doesn't really make any sense, because humans are cyclical. So it's more about try to make great stuff and maybe do once a day or something like that, because humans like, we know this, humans like to have a regular thing that sort of does this kind of same pattern. That is sort of what humans like, seeing incremental improvements. But they don't want like a billion stuff at the same time, because either way they can't really consume all that. They can't really consume that, because it's just too much, right? It's just too much. So you get this thing where it's like people can do stuff, and it doesn't even have to be today, but as long as it's good, as long as it sort of makes sense, you can sort of schedule a lot of stuff in the future. And that's even better, right? Because it frees people up. It makes value system just keep on going. People can consume something or curate something on their own time, right? And that's kind of cool. So a lot of interesting stuff going on in this space. It's really interesting to follow. And I really love video, because you know that it's going to be an experience that's not going to be interrupted. So I don't think in the future that, like, yeah, you can do, and yeah, I know that they're doing it on YouTube, a lot of pre-rolls and a lot of that, but maybe in the future you can make an experience where someone doesn't have to see any of that. They can have an experience that doesn't get interrupted. Now, that sounds kind of cool. So, a little bit what I want to talk about today. This year has passed pretty quick, right? It's already August the 8th, I think. Or wait a sec. Let's see. No, it's Friday, 9th of August. Yeah, I actually have two phones with me when I do this, when I do stuff, mainly because battery life. Battery life on phones are not really that great, but in a few years, I think it's gonna be great. Or people is gonna carry around 3 phones. Yeah. Have a great day, DTube. Have an awesome day. Steam blockchain. Bye bye.